Thank you, Nathaniel. Appreciate it. Here we go. SEO this week. Welcome to episode 136 of SEO this week. As you can see, joined by my good friend Ted. Say hi, Ted.
136. How many years have you been doing this?
I don't know. Well, I think you can say, 2 years? But I did cut out that little 6-month break. So
yeah, that's 136 weeks with a couple breaks in the middle. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's longevity there.
I don't know. Maybe it should have died a long time ago, but who knows?
No way.
Going. And I'm also joined by Mike Steffens. Mike, say hi. How you doing?
Hello, first time caller.
Sweet. Yep.
Long time listener.
Yeah, if you guys don't know Mike, I met him on Facebook. We used to troll the same groups together and pass out information, etc. Local SEO. He's also a resident Google Maps expert and does some cool things with Google Maps and helps people out with that. So we'll get him into the conversation for sure about a few of our topics. And with that being said, I want to open up the conversation, and I don't have a story for this one listed, but can't have the show today without addressing the Twitter post by Google saying that they are rolling out an update today. So have you guys seen anything on your end as to the supposed update?
Well, I haven't been checking yet because historically, once we start to see the signs of an update, it usually doesn't settle down enough to get the lay of the land until about 10 days later.
Yeah.
So I think if you're out there panicking and reacting right now, you got to kind of stop and calm down.
Yeah. Slow your roll a little bit.
yeah, because you're going to be fixing problems that might self-correct or go away after a few days.
Yeah, for sure. When you're saying signs, like Kyle, he talks about, I'm sure you've mentioned this too on Fight Club, but a sign would be like indexing problems. If you're having problems indexing, a big update may be coming.
Yeah, there's usually problems getting things to update in Google or getting new pages to get indexed in Google. Another thing you can see, because it can manifest in a lot of different ways. Another thing you can see when they do an update is the number of results you get for terms that you know very well will just drop to next to nothing. And so one day it's like you have 1 million estimated results. The next day you have 45. And then a few days later, it goes back to the original number. And that's usually a sign that they're kind of rolling something out on a data center by data center, methodology. And oftentimes when you start seeing those weird search anomalies, you need to try different versions of browsers. Google will typically roll out updates in a way that people using the latest version of Chrome will see it first. And then recent versions of Chrome will see that change next. And then older versions of other browsers are down the road. So if you're using Safari or Firefox, you may not see what people are talking about at the same time the Chrome people see it.
That makes sense. Is that why, you have Quora, you keep that updated? Sitebulb, they just integrated the Evergreen Quora or Chrome into their tools too. Is that why you want to have that updated version?
Well, embedded Chromes are always a few versions behind the latest. So typically Quora will see the update changes, a day or two after the latest, greatest Chrome browser will. Huh. But that's still before Firefox and Safari, you'll see them. So you got to view it as kind of like a blended spectrum, and Google is rolling out versions of Google based on user agent. And so they have a priority to which ones they deploy first.
That makes sense. Mike, have you seen anything with your clients today, or is it kind of holding steady for you?
Holding steady. I haven't seen anything at all. The only thing I noticed over the weekend is that certain listings that I created weren't indexing right away, but that's pretty typical, indicative of a platform update, which happens every week.
Yeah. Are you, just for clarification, are you only doing map stuff, or are you doing the site work too?
Right now, exclusively maps. It's been my thing for, I don't know, the last 5 years. Organic just isn't my jam. So been map, man. Either SEO, a lot of lead gen, and some verifications here and there.
Nice. Okay, cool. So I'm going to give it the stories, and then our last story actually has to do about maps, and that's when we'll roll in the mic. So if you have maps questions, verification, rankings, etc., it'd be a good time to drop those into the chat now. And also keep in mind, Jordan Pierce is in the background. He's also a maps expert. If he wants to, he can hit me on Skype, and I'll give him the link, and he can join us right here on Zoom and talk it out.
Nice.
That'd be cool. So it'd be good to have both of you together, because I know you have some similar and different opinions on map stuff. So with that being said, first story is from Robbie Richards. I'm showing this one because it's actually a pretty good post, and then two, it's a good example of how to blend a content piece with a experts roundup, as it were. Robbie and his team actually send out emails. I contributed to this post as well. And in this case, it's the best reporting tools. As you can see, which was not surprising to me, was Google Data Studio kind of took the #1 spot for votes. I just like it. I like the adaptability of Google Data Studio and how you can play with it. And then another one on here was Supermetrics, which is pretty nice. And there's another tool on here, DataBox. I haven't seen this one yet. Guys, I don't know if either one of you are using DataBox, but this was it was new to me, and I just like the dashboard. It just looks fancy. And it says it can integrate with some other stuff. So I was thinking about trying that out as well. I'm not sure if you guys have played with this one.
Yeah, I'm not big into pretty reports. Like,
yeah.
I tend to avoid those clients that only care about the appearance of things and not the information or advantage.
Like Dennis,
you never had a plumber client then.
Yeah. Exactly. And so if you have customers that care about looking good, then a lot of these tools are a must-have, and that's how you keep the customer satisfied. But at the end of the day, how pretty your dashboard is doesn't rank your website. It's how you use the information.
Yeah, I think really the dashboard from a customer service perspective is providing enough information to answer questions without having to engage with them all the time. So once they, like the first month after the onboarding, they get this report, especially in our case, we have a video that says, here's the data blocks, this is what it means, and this is what you can do with it. And then after that, they just get the same report just refreshed over and over again. And since we're using Data Studio, they can actually update it to that data that they want to look at, for example. So that's the benefit of this. Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to escape from reporting, because we have to have a way to show something to the client. I mean, like you show revenue, you look at revenue and how that converting is working, that's in losses. And then other clients are kind of used to seeing, like for my adult clients, it's traffic. We're not involved. He knows, he's educated enough to know that I'm not involved in the conversion of his website, as long as I'm showing him traffic and where it's coming from, where it's going to, etc. So KPIs obviously are different, but I think having a good reporting set will head off a lot of questions for you for your customers. And then it also gives you another third view, a look at your metrics, and maybe something pops up that you missed before, and that reporting might head it off. So that's why I like this one.
The other issue is your client sophisticated enough to look at a dashboard and convert that into the correct actions they should be taking? Because if they aren't savvy enough to do that, then the dashboard could potentially cause more problems than it solves.
Well, that's why part of our process is that video. So they get that video every time they get whether they're watching it or not, who knows? Hopefully they are, but they get that video every time they get the report. So it's the same, almost exactly the same copy paste email. Here's your report. Here's the video of how to use the data. That's pretty cool. And then there's other people trying to make some decent reports. SEMrush says something that's not too bad. Agency analytics, not really a fan of personally. And then Moz, yeah, who uses Moz for reporting. Ahrefs is okay. Not sure about how this it actually has a report, so I don't know if it really kind of fits in here, but their site audit tool is kind of stepping up its game a little bit, and you can integrate it with Data Studio, etc. So it's pretty interesting. Mike, what are you using for reporting? Since you're doing just map stuff, do you rely on the insights?
No, it's kind of funny. All I rely on is call logs. That's it.
Okay.
They don't. I work with the types of. Now I don't do a lot of client maps work now, but when I did, I just framed it from, okay, yeah, they can Google themselves, or we can show ranking reports and stuff like that. But I framed at the end of the day, it's about increasing calls. It kept things really simple. And the aesthetic part is, yes, they can see themselves in maps, which is more of like a vanity play, in my opinion.
Right.
But calls are number one. They still, I mean, with lead gen, calls are number one. I could care less. Personally, for my own stuff, I don't, I have rank trackers and I look at those occasionally, but I look at call volume. And, the 3-pack, and I think Jordan said this too, is that the 3-pack as we knew it isn't the same. Everything's based, or not everything, a lot's based on proximity. So if you're in a different part of the city, you're going to see different results. And, one of the things that I do and that I work with people on is a multi-layered process of stretching out that proximity footprint, which can go to a certain degree. But anyway, long story short, calls.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Jordan. Welcome.
Hey, thanks. Sorry, I don't have video today. This thing's all messed up, but chime in here when I can.
I'll find a Sasquatch gift to put in that.
Yeah, I should.
Cool. Before we transition, Jordan, if you don't mind, what are you using for reporting? I know you do some client stuff, and you have your own tool as well too. Is all your reporting back straight into that?
So I don't typically do the reporting that most SEOs do. I don't just send just a sheet to them or anything. I'll send them like a breakdown from using my maps tool, and then I'll usually spend about 15 to 20 minutes with them, just kind of going through what's been happening in the month and going through their call tracking. I spend a lot more time with home services since I've also owned a locksmith company myself. I spend a lot of time making sure that their dispatchers are also closing their jobs. I do a lot of consulting with home services to make sure that their dispatchers are making the company money, because that's, at the end of the day, your front end team is really what's making the sales for your organization. So I spend time making sure their dispatchers are on point, as well as going over the reports with them. So
that's a whole conversation in and of itself, is how
Yep.
far you as an SEO feel you need to get involved in the sales process to help show results. So
Sometimes a lot more than you like.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot more. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the maps outlook. Jordan kind of summed it up as well. It's call recordings, call conversion. There are some things. Jordan has Mappy out there. It's a pretty cool tool. I use it, but outside of that, it's not nearly as sophisticated as organic and things that are way outside of local. It's just not my client base, not the people I work with.
Yeah, and I'm more with Mike too. For local clients, I don't spend a ton of time with organic, just because, especially with home services, the way Google's going now, they're really pushing a lot of their paid ads down. So I think the most important thing right now is getting people to be able to expand their full proximity and their full presence with maps.
Makes sense.
Word.
And with that, I have some questions that just came to my head too. I want to fly through the rest of these stories first. Next is DanielMorel.com. This is htaccess for SEO. I don't know how much you guys are into technical SEO, but this file right here, you can get in a lot of trouble if you're dinking around with it and you don't know what you're doing. But unfortunately, you need to learn how to read it. And this is a pretty good, it's actually a very good guide. Different aspects of messing with the htaccess, and it's not a whole, read the whole thing at once. It's broken down into chapters. Is pretty slick. So I would check that out.
That's an important one if you're hiring SEOs that are like remote or offshore that you don't know very well, and you end up having to let them go. One of the common places where the SEOs will sabotage you on their way out the door is to mess up your htaccess files. So half the time when I see sabotage, it's, you know, usually in the htaccess files on the way out the door. The other times I see it, it'll often be like removing the root URL in Google Search Console, and then a very small percentage gets more technical than that. So it's good to understand htaccess files, at least enough to review them and see if something looks out of the normal.
The biggest one that I've seen is the, hey, I'm gonna just no index the entire site as I walk out the door. That's the one that I've seen the most.
Yeah.
In line with some more reporting stuff, if you like to use Excel, I prefer Excel over Google Sheets, for example. This Popes from Supermetrics has some different templates you can plug into here. Supermetrics pretty expensive though. Just in my opinion, you're tying a free service to your software that you're already paying for, and you're paying for the API that Supermetrics plugs in and some of the ease of use. But still, it's good dashboards and stuff, especially if you're using Excel to do that. And then some more, this one is from Seer Interactive, some more, some tips, and there's a couple templates in here too, just to show you how to create your tables, etc., inside of Google Data Studio. It's not as daunting as it is. You can, as a matter of fact, you can go in here and follow these directions step by step, hook your stuff up, and have your first report custom to you if you're not starting with a template already ready to go. And it is really easy. This one, I don't know if I want to do this one, Ted, because I found this one before it was how do I have this conversation.
I think I sent this one to Kyle yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't read this one. What
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm going to save this one. I'm going to leave it a link in there, but I think Ted, you should actually read this. And
yeah.
A really better discussion on the scientific method of SEO. Obviously, there's people who have their different versions on what science is and the philosophy of science and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, how do you test the stuff to make sure what you're doing is actually getting your results you think it's getting you?
Well,
and then how do you mix it up?
And the title of it is not quite phrased right for scientific method, because you can never definitively prove things. You can just, find evidence against the hypothesis. So, I'm already taking it as a grain of salt, because this title feels a little bit clickbaity. But yeah, I'll read it.
I'm sure it is. They don't mention you in here. I don't know what the hell they're thinking.
Well, that's fine. I'm not the only person.
But it's good for food for thought. But I thought this would be a really good discussion, so we'll save that for next week.
Okay.
Because we got the map guys here today. And then Authority htaccess. I don't know if you guys know, but there's a guess based off of the data that Google increased their font size, which reduced how many pixels the title has, so it's not 80 characters anymore, etc. And this is a good roll up of the data that kind of found some of that information out. What is a title tag, and just basically some more information. You go in here and look at the data. So this is a really good post too. So
yeah, but they didn't care when Google went from 10 results on page 1 down to 9 and sometimes 8, and that's an even bigger effect, because all of your number 10 rankings became page 2.
Yeah,
good point.
But to that point, I've seen click-through data where the clicks are migrating over to page 2 because users are getting tired of seeing the ads. In some cases, the maps, definitely getting tired of seeing Home Advisor, Angie's List, Yelp, etc. when they're looking for a local business. So
if you're upset about the font size, you should be livid about stealing organic results off of page 1.
Yeah.
Well, I just find it interesting. If you remember back in the days of like 7-pack, even Google Ads had the 3 banners on top, and then they had the whole list on the side.
Yeah.
And now it seems like they're kind of moving back to that again. Because I've seen some results that show like 3, 4, even 5 on the top, and it's just then they're
Which
pushing shit down.
which type of categories are you seeing those on? Like home services stuff?
I mean, mainly it's home services.
Yeah.
Anything that's in the local service ads, that's when I see it a lot. It'll show, I've even seen 3 Google ads, then it shows AdWords Express, then it shows Google Guarantee, then it shows 3 map pack. And you still, I don't think it still shows a full 10 organic. I think it still even pushed some of that down.
Yeah, I think it's like 7 or 8. It just depends.
Yeah.
Depends on what time of day you search to. But yeah, finding local business in the organic it's been rough for a while. You have Home Advisor, you have Yelp, all these different search directories that pretty much push them out, and they're selling services to them. So it's rough. I mean, Maps, Jordan, you probably agree, is doing well, and I feel bad for the people in home services because they're getting shredded. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, even tutors. So San Diego's their test market for any local service ads. So if you guys want to look and see what's coming out of the market, go check it out in San Diego. But like I even saw dog sitters and dog walkers, tutors, like just the most random shit.
Okay.
And then the final story is Google Maps is testing incognito mode in Android. I thought this was good because, as you guys alluded to earlier, Maps deals with proximity, and in this case, they're turning all that off, or they're making it so users can turn it all off. So I wanted to get your opinions on that, and then 2, how would you going to handle it now?
I think that this goes back to being able to turn off location history on Android devices. I don't think this is necessarily going to work on iPhones. So
yeah, I haven't seen it all on iPhone.
Yeah,
it's kind of a step back. Maybe they're looking at it, and a lot of people use this analogy, but maybe they finally come to the conclusion that if you're looking for a roofer, you don't care if the roofer is on the other side of town. Quite frankly, you might not care if the roofer is in a suburb next to you, so long as they do what you need and they can come to you, that's fine. Whereas, Jordan, you probably agree, you can't look at every business like it's McDonald's. It just doesn't work that way. And then I also, I kind of think maybe they're seeing some of these proximity filters being stretched or broke a little bit. That's probably more my own pride than anything else, but maybe they're finally coming to their senses. Like some businesses, proximity shouldn't matter at all. It should be overall relevance, authority, brand, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what people are searching to, because you can even filter listings based on like 5-star ratings too. So like, if you're looking for a dentist or chiropractor, you're probably going to want to filter those out first so you can pick a good one for yourself. It's not necessarily, like Mike said, you don't necessarily need the closest one unless it's more emergency service like a towing company or a plumber or a locksmith or something like that. I mean, users are going to be spending a little bit more time finding a reputable company.
True.
How do you think Google handles that though? Because you're saying that they want to find the best one, not necessarily the closest one, but Google's showing the closest one.
I think I think they're always going to show proximity first, but it's still going to allow users to filter those out. So yes, they want to find the most relevant one, which is by location. But I think the way that Google's handling it is they need to find a way to filter that out based upon the type of category and the type of need. So usually if it's a plumber or a locksmith, you probably need the service right away most of the time. If it's something like a lawyer or a doctor or urgent care, it kind of depends on the category. So I don't know how they would be able to determine that based upon emergency services, like I need it right now versus something where you can schedule it later on.
Well, true. I mean, I do stuff with emergency dental stuff, and again, there's proximity is somewhat of a factor, but not necessarily, because there aren't a lot of emergency dentists in an area. The other area that I've done a lot of work in is criminal defense and personal injury. Proximity means nothing at all. And that's probably one of the number one gripes that I've had, and the law firms and attorneys that I've worked with as well. Since this guy, or it's always somebody, is closer to the middle of the city where the population density is greater, that he's showing up well. And so we have to combat it. I mean, it's not just proximity. It's branded traffic, meaning You know, your brand is strong. If people are Googling you by brand name, that's a clear indicator that you're a known entity that has some authority. And those types of things can be combated. But, you know, as far as like on my iPhone, it's every time I do a search on Safari, it asks me whether it wants to know my location or not. So I get similar results even when I don't want it to. So, you know, Clint, back to your question, I think, you know, they need to start getting more granular and figuring out which categories apply to proximity right, and then which ones that really shouldn't. And you know, I don't know if they're going to do that or not, to be honest with you. Google My Business, Google Maps isn't as smart as people think they are.
I think they're working on spending a lot more time monetizing maps now.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
How many years has I've been in this for 10 years? And I don't think they've ever properly monetized it. Jordan, what do you think?
I've seen it where they used to monetize just based upon like different services. You could add like discount codes for like an extra $15 a month. But kind of going back to the original topic though, it's also really depending upon how people are searching too. Like if you putting in I need a plumber in Seattle, Washington. I mean, does that necessarily mean that you live in Seattle, or maybe you're calling for someone else that lives in that area? So it's probably not going to show that relevance on your location at that point. If you're saying I need a plumber near me, that's going to be different. So I think those relevant signals as far as proximity goes is what's going to help their algorithm in the future. But what they're doing, the monetize stuff with their local service ads, it's getting worse, and people really need to start focusing on being able to expand their proximity.
Yeah, number one.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is they're just basically seeing directories and people like us and other agencies that are just taking, in their opinion, they're taking leads from Google, and we're getting right in between. So, in short, what Google's doing is trying to get their leads back. So, I don't know. I haven't done a lot of testing on user behavior as far as like the Google Trusted Partner thing. They are prominently displayed, but the call volume and stuff that I use as my metric to measure success hasn't really dropped that much. But then keep in mind, I'm not as much in the home services stuff. Jordan, what do you see?
Sorry, cut out for a second. What was that?
As far as like, I'm not into home services as much as you are. I think what all the results on mobile have the Google Trusted Partner. Have you seen, or the partners up at the very top? Have you seen a significant call drop? Month in, month.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
So people are actually trusting these trusted partners.
Because not only that too. So there's a couple things there. They started playing around with that probably like a month and a half ago, where they started moving all of those guarantee down. Even then, if you're just using like the Google Maps app and you happen to run across a listing that is in their program, it'll show a big green banner now that says they're part of that program. So it is kind of adding that extra trust factor into some of these guys. So I think, I tell clients too, you should still be part of that program, because it still brings a decent amount of leads, but that's how they're really monetizing. And they're pushing all these lead generation guys out of the way by having this program out too. So
for sure.
Are they pushing the lead gen guys out of the way though?
I think they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
are apps, but like in organic, Home Advisor, Angie's List, Yelp, those are all lead gen sites.
But most people know Home Advisor now because of their branding and what they're advertising on commercials and YouTube and shit like that. So people know the name
Google, now. Just because they're known, why would Google? I know the reason. I'm just kind of making it for the benefit of discussion. Is I know Yelp, I know Home Advisor, I know Angie's List. If I want to do a search on those guys for a plumber, for example, I'll go to Home Advisor, Angie's List. Why would Google intentionally elevate them in the search results and bury legitimate small businesses?
Site size and authority, traffic, links. All those things. That's first thing that comes to mind. I don't know, how much they spend in paid advertising. They really don't need to. But yeah, they are lead gen by definition. They're just, I guess to clarify, I think they want to take out lead gen at the local level that's not managed by a huge, national or global,
Because they don't
organization.
give a shit. They don't give a shit about the small guys. They really don't. It's just
No,
at the end of the day, they don't. I mean, why did Google get into lead generation? You know,
More money. I mean, yeah, to cut out the element out there that's making money off of them. But the way I look at lead gen is it's legit. I think Google and even state authorities and stuff, they look at it as misleading. It's legitimate if you have a property that's generating traffic and calls, and the important part is the company on the other end is identified, if they're licensed, and that they're the ones servicing these calls and the services. I personally don't have a problem with that. I think it's gotten a bad rap, but there are scams and stuff out there, but it's a good thing. And let's be honest, the normal local small or mid-sized business, they just aren't they don't understand maps, and some of them don't understand organic. And there's a plethora of local agencies out there where the people that run the agency have no idea how to do SEO or maps or anything. They're just, subcontracting everything out. So I think it gives everybody it makes us look bad. And so I'm kind of off on a tangent, but that's my 2 cents.
No, I think that's fair. It's a fair statement. From my perspective, seeing lead gen, like the home advisors, they've got a lead affiliate program. You can do CPA offers and send them leads. So it's and that's really when I think, honestly, if you can see it, the big blast when people started doing mass map creations and stuff, and they were selling the leads to home advisor. So now home advisor is getting leads from the maps, then they're getting leads from organic. And it just, to me, it's like Jordan said, I think it's kind of Google's continuing war on local businesses, which leads me into why the hell would Google think it was a good idea to remove the review stars from the search results on local?
But also, if you look at just, I'll answer that question, but aside from that, Home Advisor also has a very similar screening process like Google has too. I mean, they have to go through background
Didn't they
checks
borrow
and shit
that
like
process?
that.
Well,
They
if that's the
mean,
case,
that
then Google's
process?
screening process sucks balls.
It does suck balls because it takes, one, it takes fucking forever. Two, you're not guaranteed that just because you go through the background check and do your video call that you're going to be in the program. Home Advisor could care less. They just want as many people as they can.
Exactly.
But now why they're removing all this review shit, I mean, is completely BS. I mean, they've implemented as part of their Google Guarantee program, as part of their ranking algorithm, that you have to get reviews. And your rankings in Google Guarantee will drop if you start to get either less reviews or you get shittier reviews. So, I mean, they're kind of hypocrites in a lot of ways. They're kind of shooting themselves in the foot on that.
I think one possible explanation for why they'd get rid of review stars and organic results is that they're going to continue to offer them in ads, and that'll shift the click-through rate to revenue generating links.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And who benefits the most from those is the local business, the mom and pop plumber or the mom and pop locksmith owner, or even the Jordan Pierces. And you have review stars. No one else is taking the time to optimize and provide Google the right information. And Google's ripped it away in order to leverage that for the Google services ads or the AdWords normal blocks.
Yeah, I mean, I take a more pessimistic view on that. I just really think that reviews are so easy to generate, fake reviews and stuff like that. And maybe it's part of this maps purge that's been going on where they want to take that away. I agree with you. They want to go put the eyeballs on ads. And I just think, the thing with Google Maps is they're either way too lax on the left or then they overreact on the right. Right now they're overreacting. But, you got to ask at some point, are searchers, are people going to go to Google if everything's paid advertising at the local level and then you can't find a real business in the organic results? A lot of the listings in the 3-pack aren't well optimized, yada, yada. They're not necessarily even good businesses, but they're just there. It's like, at what point do people just stop caring?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think we're seeing that with CTR, where CTR, it used to be you're on page 2, you didn't get any traffic. Now that CTR is showing us that users are merging over on the page 2. So
True.
I think at some point, banner blindness is going to kick in. But not being as deep in the PPL like you guys are, pay per lead, in case you guys don't know. I can't see the balance between, if I have a client, is he getting more or less calls because the shopping ads are there? what is the average click-through rate for the ads? Is like 5% ish, right? Before, does the shopping ads change that up for local businesses? And I'm
Yeah.
sure Jordan's got a better perspective on that, specifically in a locksmith niche.
Yeah, I've
Shoot, man. Go for it.
always
Go ahead,
felt
Ted.
that the advertising infrastructure was kind of built all wrong to begin with. Like, imagine if we had a world where instead of businesses paying intermediate companies for ad click-throughs, what if they were paying the people who actually viewed the ads instead? So you set up an ad, people visit your website, they get that 3 cents for visiting that page that day.
What? I get paid to be a mystery shopper on
Yeah, I was just
Google?
gonna say it's a mystery shop or
Well,
secret
Wait,
Santa.
dude, I just found my new income, man. Thanks.
Yeah, but this is kind of why the motivations of the architecture are all wrong, because if you set it up that way, people don't hate ads, they don't block ads, they want to visit sites that have the best payouts, they want to repeat visiting those sites to get those best payouts. It's kind of like the whole system was just built to profit a middleman. And if you would revisit the system, you could probably make an ad network that actually gets people to revisit your websites religiously.
Yeah, maybe they'll do something with local guides. To merge that kind of idea with local guides, because that's.
Don't get
Got
people
4
ideas.
bots on my computer.
Oh, I love me some
I already
local
got my
guide accounts.
socks. I already got
Right.
my local guide socks, so whatever I can get to be a mystery shopper, I'm good.
Wherever I go, I take 1,000 pictures.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. It's always interesting to have that conversation. So talking PPL, pay per lead using Google Maps. Obviously you're not going to say how you're verifying, but how are you finding verification easier or harder these days? Especially after they had that purge, they got rid of a couple of the well-known methods because people, for whatever reason, they hate money, so they sell their methods on the internet. Are you finding it easier or harder to make new?
Jordan, or some people just give it away to sell other platforms. They don't even sell the method. But anyway, I digress from that. Yeah, Jordan, we've talked a lot about this over the last 2 years. Why don't you start?
I would say that I've kind of gone back to some of the old ways of verifying. And some of that includes postcard. Yes, I know you heard it. I think now that Google, they still have options like of different ways to verify. It just depends on how you set it up, but
you can video verify from your bedroom if you have a banner.
Yeah, yeah, I did that last year for crime
Nice.
scene cleanup, and had some friends come over and fake a crime scene at my house with fake blood, and the rep freaked out and was like, "Okay, you guys are good. You're verified."
Now everybody in the water damage niche is going to go to crime scene, crime victim service, man. You just
So
that one. But anyway,
I think I've been doing this for 12 years. I've come up with 15 to 17 different ways to verify, but it just I think that people are going after this magical solution without actually being able to see what you can do without having the verified tool. I'll just kind of throw that little hint out there that you don't necessarily need to have a verified listing to rank.
Damn it.
And I think it just kind of comes down to experience, knowledge, but at the end of the day, I'm in a position where I'm using my methods to push national rankings rather than just local. So I'm going a different direction.
Are there a few things that people should avoid doing?
Oh man.
I'll just tell you, if you guys are doing this, anytime you set up any brand new listing, just because this year alone, they've had over probably 30 to 35 updates in Google Maps alone. We're not even through the year yet.
Right.
I think the most important thing is just because they're suspending listings for even just changing your hours of operation, that you should really fill it out 100% right from the get-go. Don't verify and then start trying to go in there and edit a bunch of names, information like your categories and business names and shit like that. Just get everything out of the way first. That will really help you from that getting flagged and suspended.
Unless you're going for garage door, you know, with the
Yeah.
phone verification, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing I've seen from verifying for a while, using some of the old methods. And, you know, now I'm going back to old school. Anyway, yeah, if you're going through the front end of GMB, have everything filled out, because basically the way they look at it is, this is who you said you were. And now you're trying to go back and say you're not this or you're that. And that's, I think, where a lot of those suspensions come from. I mean, the system in general has been abused quite a bit, you know, and I take responsibility, or a small bit of responsibility for that. But, you know, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. So,
What are you're saying? Don't change. And
well,
I'll use one instance. We had a franchise account. We put all the maps in there, got them all verified, and they were verified for like a couple months.
mhm,
And then half of them got suspended.
right.
I went through and I had videos, I had pictures, I had a trusted photographer go all the locations. Obviously,
You send blood work in and
I sent
DNA swab.
I sent the lease in.
Right.
The only thing we didn't send in was the federal, the state license saying that they can operate, and their business license. And
Yeah.
still, even then, they're not approving them. How do you deal with instances like that?
So you had a franchise account where you're using them for the same franchise, right? So, I mean, it kind of goes back to, you want to make sure. I even on quite a few of my locations, I would even photograph like copies of the business license on the listing, even locksmith licenses. I would take as many real photos as I could. I don't ever use stock photos ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just doing everything you can to make it look as real as possible. It also could have
Lost you.
Lost him.
Photoshop works wonders as well. Just depends on how ethical you are, not ethical. I mean, it just depends.
Yeah.
But during the times of when
there it is.
sorry, you guys hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So you probably made changes during the times when they were doing updates. And that's one of the number one reasons why people get suspended, is when they're doing an update, you're making edits, then
Mhm.
things start getting triggered and flagged.
Even though it's not your fault per se. I mean, sometimes, Jordan, they just get suspended for no reason at all, at least not apparently. But, you know, keyword-based names are a big issue. Going forward, it's lots of businesses have keywords in their names, but they don't have the city name. I was driving around the other day in the morning, went to a couple gas stations. All the service trucks and vans were filling up with gas. There's probably 20 different companies in and out of there within 10 minutes, and none of them had the city name, you know, on there. It wasn't, you know, Rob's Plumbing, Chicago, and stuff like that. And so, you know, I mean, Jordan, we've talked about this a little bit offline, but people will do fine in maps if they're just smart about it, and they don't go in with Plumber Dallas TX is their listing name. They don't make their service area 150 miles. Jordan, help me out here, man. We've talked about a lot about stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Let's not get too deep into that, but how do you, let's say you are a PPL guy, you created that Plumber Dallas, Texas, and we both know that those are ranking. They're ranking like gangbusters because the number one ranking factor seems to be the name and the
little bit.
So how do you know, how would a local business guy compete with Mike Steffens if Mike Steffens moves into the niche with PPL maps?
I don't know, man. Maybe flag me. I mean, there's a lot of that going on. I've had it happen when SEO will come in. Part of their SEO strategy is to go through and flag any businesses or listings they think they're not in compliance. I hate that. Not because I'm in lead gen, but on the other side, it's like, I see this in Facebook groups all the time, is people saying, you know, I'm going to report this listing, report that listing. You know, at the end of the day, get your game up. You know, just outrank these listings and do a better job. But, you know, as far as beating lead gen, it's hard because people like us have access to just throw out hundreds or thousands of listings, you know, like where I don't care if I lose a couple dozen in a week. I could care less, where the local business doesn't see it that way. So, I mean, there's a little bit of a conflict. How do they beat? I mean, I'm not the best lead gen person in the world, so I don't know, but how do they beat that? I mean, I don't know, Jordan. Honestly,
I think it all just comes down to risk tolerance. I mean, SEO can be very aggressive or it can be very laid back. So it's, you know, if you want to pay with the game, then Sometimes maybe the business owner might have to add the city name and go register a DBA with the local county clerk's office saying that they're ABC Plumbing of Vancouver. You know, DBAs, you can file a DBA with your county clerk for like 10 to 30 bucks. I mean, it's
Right.
super easy to do. It's legit. If Google says, hey, I need to see a business license, that's one of the requirements that they ask for if your listing gets thrown down, is give me a utility bill with the name on it or give me a business license. So that's something that you can really actually show to them. Back when I was doing locksmith and auto glass when I first started, we registered probably like 4,000 DBAs throughout the country. I mean, everything was legit. So my name was, you know, Locksmith of Portland. That was my actual business name. It was a real name. So if people want to really focus and beat some of these other lead gen guys, then sometimes you just got to play with them.
And that's a really interesting point, because that type of information, show me the business license, show me some, you know, utility bill, that's the exact same type of verification information you need for like extended verification SSL, which Google no longer supports in Chrome, but they make you go through that exact same verification for the Google My Business. And so it's interesting that they shoot down an established standard and then invent their own new standard to replace it.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, back to what I was talking about, though. I mean, DBAs and having legitimate paperwork are obviously the first step. I mean, Google's asking for pictures, video walkthroughs, and stuff that you just really can't fake per se. But I mean, a lot of people don't understand. Yes, a huge ranking factor is what's in the name. And if I throw a lot of, you know, stuff that people know about spammy listings, I don't want to do much with it. That's what I'll do. If a real business has a non-spammy name, or for my example, doesn't have the city in their name, if you know what you're doing, or if you employ somebody that knows what they're doing, you can take completely branded name and rank it across town. There's other factors besides name that can counteract that. So on one end, I took the question, or perceived the question as, if you're that small business, what do you do? Excuse me. What do you do to beat these other lead gens? Well, that's some of the things you can do. And what Jordan said is true as well. Just my mind doesn't go that way. Yes, you can come up with paperwork, you can be legitimate, but you know, I just think that, in my opinion, and it's a pretty strong opinion, that going forward, outside of all the monetization that's going on in maps, they really, I mean, this is nothing new to Jordan and some other people, but brand. The companies or listings that have a brand that are tied to a real company improve the results of Google's quality, the quality of Google search results. I mean, I guess I agree with Jordan, but I'd take that question and look at it a different way.
All right, so the reason why we had Mike come on is you are coming out with a course here, what, like next week or a couple weeks
Late
out?
next week. Yeah, late next week right now. Just cranking out training. To be honest, I haven't even named it yet, and I don't know what to name it. I've been doing one-on-one training. You know, somebody actually asked me about 3 or 4 years ago if I could help them. And from there, I've been doing it kind of low key. Now I have something where I do one-on-one training, and I just finally decided, okay, let's just put it on a video course. And this is, you know, this is my methods. I introduce some different ways of thinking, as far as not everything's the way I do it. I think I take a pretty unique or unorthodox approach to ranking in maps. I don't necessarily follow, I don't want to name names. Jordan's not one of the people that are out there preaching the same things about schema and whatever other crap. Don't get me wrong, schema is important, but stuff that's just been regurgitated over and over again. So it's a pretty direct relationship. I've done a very casual pre-launch. I'm getting some feedback, and you know, I just something where it's like people ask me, I finally put it out there. And it's a pretty direct deal. Like, they want value, I give them value. In exchange for them, they pay me for my time. I mean, it's as simple as that. I don't have any other motives. I'm not trying to sell a website full of white label services or stuff like that. So essentially, that's what I'm doing. And you know, there's a lot of things in there that have worked for me that I just think outside of the box. So a lot of people are enjoying that, and you know, that's where I'm at time wise. And the funny thing is, I don't even have a name for it yet. I've been focusing on the content right now.
Yeah.
Hashtag maps me.
Hashtag value push. Just kidding. I had to bring that up. No, yeah, hashtag maps me. Thanks, Jordan.
You have to use a fragment anchor link though.
Yeah, next time I will. I
What
like the
are some of the topics you got covered in there?
proximity, traffic, website structuring, things to do with other entities. Like for instance, I wasn't a very big fan of the GMB business site when it came out. I didn't really, I wasn't very creative in the things that can be done with it. I've used it not just as a buffer, like a tier 1 type of buffer, but I've realized you can use them at mass off the GMB. You don't necessarily have them on there. So there's a lot of things I do with that. In general, that's the main thing. I go into great detail. I have 6 steps, and each step goes into detail, maybe 3 or 4, 5, or not 5, 15 to 20-minute videos that go over that stuff. Traffic and proximity optimizations, they kind of go hand in hand, but I have a very interesting, at least in my opinion, interesting way of taking care of that, building brand. And then off page that I do, you know, I don't use PBNs and stuff like that. I'm not into you know, big backlinking things that, you know, put some people up in arms, but it works well. And I teach how, when something doesn't work right away, how to go back and figure out what wasn't working and improve it. I think that's like when I've been working with people, they're like, well, you know, I shouldn't even say the people I work with. I see this, I hear this in groups, and Jordan can laugh, but you know, I went out, I got a GMB, I built my site, I put all my keywords and my title and H tags, and I built 150 citations. Now what? And so what I'm teaching is to hopefully get people out of that mentality, try something a little bit different, but at the same time, teach them how to think on their own. Not that they can't, but use and be creative and understand how to adapt to situations. Because I've yet to see anything, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 people, that have actually taught that, is how to not only be creative and use things that Google provides you, not just Google properties that are out there in different ways, but more importantly, when you run into like a roadblock, how to deal with it. Because I just think a lot of people, they try something, they don't maybe get as great of results or results at all, then they're frustrated, and then they're going on to the next value pusher, hashtag value pusher. Right, Jordan?
That's right. No, I think that you have a very different than how I do things. Well, a lot of it is the same. A lot of it's different. I think people just need to kind of get out of the old 2015 mentality.
Right.
It's one of the things that I'm talking about in Anaheim this year is there's no longer a thing called the 3-pack. Like, those days are completely over. Everyone's always like, hey, how come I'm not in the 3-pack? Well, which 3-pack? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what do you mean? Well, there
Word search phrase.
could be 15 3-packs in your city.
Mhm.
And people just haven't really grasped that quite yet.
It's hard to let go of old things. I mean, things like I don't know, social signals and stuff like that. You know, 2015 is calling, right, Jordan? Once their social signals back. So traffic's the new, and kind of in essence is the new backlink. I'm not saying links are still important. It just depends on how you use them, where you get the links from. And I'm not necessarily talking about PBNs, not slamming anybody who uses PBNs, but traffic seems to be the thing. And I've, you know, over the last year, I've been kind of tweaking this. You know, I've made mistakes myself where traffic validates properties. Traffic can validate your knowledge panel. Traffic can validate your map listing, your GMB. Traffic can validate a YouTube channel. Pretty much anything that you have out there that's connected to your brand footprint, that builds the brand, that helps lift up the GMB, is all validated by traffic and some links to a degree. You know, that's kind of how my philosophy on that is, without, you know, going into too much detail. I'd like to share some of that stuff though. Yeah. That's how I look at it.
So you're going to cover everything from verification right down to ranking. And are you going to get into you sticking just to maps? Or are you going to say, all right, now that we have the maps, this is what we did, it's great, and teach you PPL stuff as a bonus? Or are you going to just end it at the maps?
There's a bonus about a verification technique that's not as sexy as an instant verification, but it works and it's more stable, and you can do a lot with it before you even verify. And I'll just leave it at that. I am in the middle of thinking, like, what else can I do? The second biggest question I get when I'm working one-on-one with people is, how do I make money? Which is really scary, because they don't like the term rank and rent. I understand what people mean by that, but the problem is somebody might spend all this time and money on ranking, they have no idea how to monetize it. So other value adds that I haven't told anybody until now is ways to go out and get either clients, because there's nothing wrong with client SEO. I did it for a while, just not my jam. I could do it again if I needed to. But find lead partners, how to monetize something before you even buy a domain, before you even think about anything, GMB, domain, anything. I think a lot of them, or a lot of us, I should say, I shouldn't say them, it's us in general as a community, aren't very good at finding monetization first. And it's not nearly as intimidating as I think people have said or they feel. And ultimately that's maps goes hand in hand, but lead generation and building a business in general, I constantly get questions about that. So yes, there'll be a value add in there. I don't know. I'm probably going to share a lot of stuff for free outside of the course in regards to helping people get their first lead partner or client, because God knows I've gotten a lot of help along the way. So there's my long answer. All right.
So, okay. So do you have a domain for where you're going to sell the course yet? Just so we can have that.
Not yet. Everything's going to be set up within the next 3 days. I'll pass it out. Yeah, I'd rather. I got a little. My forte right now, and is making sure all the content's on point. And you probably know this. I know Jordan knows this. For at least for me, every 15 or 20 minutes of training video may take an hour or so to actually put together. Edit.
Have fun with that.
I made the mistake of doing a pre-launch, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but of dripping out the content because it's all brand new, and it's not their fault at all. It's my fault. Is when's the next video coming? When's the next video coming? I like the blah blah blah, and I understand where they're coming from. So yeah, Jordan, as far as you say, have fun with that. Once you get the whole thing done, it's cool. But as you're trying to do it, I'm focusing on that. There'll definitely be marketing collateral that will come out late this week, early next week. But I'm not looking to sign up 100,000 people. I just, there's certain things that I share, and it's not my main source of income, but it's something that I think gives value, and I can make some income from it. But I'm not trying to be on the Facebook ad, timeline thing or whatever, news feed, every day to every SEO on Facebook. It's just, that's not going to be my approach. So right now it's content first. I'll have a way to buy it and some marketing next week, but a lot of my stuff's going to be word of mouth. Again, another long answer to a simple question.
And how do people find you?
Most people get referred to me. I've worked, and the thing is.
No, I mean, like, I want to follow you so that I can know when your course is going to launch. Where do I find you?
Oh, well, you're friends with me on Facebook. The next thing is I need to think of a name, like literally today or tomorrow. There's going to be a private Facebook group, which you're invited to, and then there's going to be a public one. After that, it's just, hit me up on Messenger. Most people that I'm interested in talking to are on my Facebook. So that's going to be the first announcement. Then get people to a group over time. And that group, the group that's not the public group, is going to be about value. I'm not going to push my course whatsoever in that group. And then people that work with me in training or about the course will have our own private community so that we can all kind of share what's working, what's not. And as things evolve, I'll update to the course platform, and that'll be a way to communicate. So does that answer your question or no?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
What I'll do is I'll post a link to your profile so they can at least be able to connect to you. I'll put that in the comments on the YouTube and in the Facebook chat.
Thank you, sir.
With that, Jordan, NFG Rockstars. It's starting next week. This will be the last SEO this week before NFG Rockstars. I won't be doing SEO this week from Rockstars. Just don't feel like dragging all my crap out there and doing it. So I'm not doing it. But I understand you opened some more slots for the Disney stuff that was filled.
We did. Yeah. So we are opening up a third tour group. So if anyone has ever been to Disney before, it's a huge advantage because you get to cut through all the lines and watch all the people get pissed at you. So it's a good opportunity to come and network, have some fun, plan some rides, see Star Wars, drink, have fun. And we can only fill about, I think 10 people.
She said there's 5 more spaces open.
5 more, yeah. So there's 5 more spots open for the third group. So jump in when you can. You can reach out to me and I will get you the link. We still have a couple more spots open for the event as well. Unfortunately, the third day is pretty much filled up at this point. But there's definitely still some slots available for the first 2 days.
And those first 2 days, it's 1st and 2nd, right? 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, it's the 1st and the 2nd of October. So next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay, perfect. Nice. And that's nfgrockstars.com. If you guys want to get signed up, you can meet Jordan, myself, Ted, Kyle's going to be there. Some of my mastermind guys are going to be there. Terry Samuels is coming. His son Skyler, who's doing a lot of domain stuff, it will be there. And there's a bunch of other people too. Jordan, any other names I missed? Craig Campbell,
me, Mike, Brad,
Stephen,
Lisa will be there, Holly, Jeff and Kevin, who are both great. I'm really looking forward to hearing Jeff's talk about affiliate. That's kind of something I'm getting into a little bit, so I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Cool. Hopefully he steps up his game from the last one I heard.
Yeah.
I know I'm bringing it this year, so.
Yeah. And Ted and Kyle, forgot about those cats.
Yeah.
Yep. If you like talking shop while drinking at the bar, there's a lot of that at this event. It's really cool getting to meet people and talk SEO theories and just get caught up. And along with all the killer content, like the content is top tier. It's all, highly tactical. It's people that are coming in saying, I've had huge success with this in recent months. Just do it, A, B, C, follow the recipe, do it this way. The advice you get from these shows is that specific. So it's really cool. It's not like SMX. So if you've been to SMX, don't think it's the same thing. It's not. It's a very different beast.
And if you come, you might actually see a real fight club between Ted, Kyle, and Clint. So we might do an actual fight live.
Yeah, that's what we do at the bar.
And with that, that's a good segue. Thanks, Jordan. Is what's coming up for SEO Fight Club tomorrow?
Tomorrow, bring all of your best unanswered SEO questions. We are doing an Ask Us Anything. So you can ask all three of us. You can ask just Clint, whatever you want to ask. We're going to try and answer as many questions as we can.
Those are literally my favorite shows. Those and site audits. Those are the best two, honestly.
Yeah, I save them for when I don't have a topic set up. So it's my emergency.
It'll be SEO Fight Club tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thank you all very much for watching episode 136 of SEO this week. Mike, Jordan, thank you both for coming. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And
Thank you.
We'll see you all later.